Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sid, and in today's video I am going to be talking about the exotic animal exploiter Larry Wallach, also known as the Tiger Man. Even though he is known as that in the exotic animal people circles, he is more publicly known for the smaller animals he's had. He has had a bunch of sloths and has tried to build a business around them.
My business is to educate the public on wildlife. If you go to any other sloth encounter, it's nowhere near this.
Sloths being hit with plastic spray bottles while children watch nearby.
Now an animal rights group is accusing the owner of taking the sloths to parties where they allegedly got high.
Sloths belong in Costa Rica. They don't belong, in a former pool supply store next to a Carvel.
Sloth encounter! Shut them down! Sloth encounter! Shut them down!
A couple of years prior, another petting zoo establishment called Sequest tried to set up shop in the same area. Sequest offers the ability to interact with a range of exotic animals, which really didn't work out too well for the animals, the staff, and the customers. They even offered sloth selfies and heavily advertised them on their website. They have multiple locations and a long history of animal neglect, which I have actually made 2 videos about. In those videos, I mentioned that their sloths repeatedly died, bit customers, or were injured themselves. But the one good thing Sequest did was contact city officials to get permits to open up one of their interactive aquariums in a mall there. Sequest's interest in wanting to open up in the area was made public, and animal rights groups Long Island Humane and People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, protested.
This is a very shady business with very unethical business practices, as well as a long history of animal mistreatment.
Even Alec Baldwin sent a letter that was co-written by PETA to the town to try and stop Sequest from coming to the area. There was a 7-month campaign to stop Sequest, and they eventually withdrew their application to open up there. So Sequest may have been unsuccessful at opening, but Larry Wallach was not. He opened up an exotic animal attraction called Sloth Encounters. He was able to do that because, unlike Sequest, he didn't notify anyone that he was opening up. He just put some sloths and some other exotic animals in a shop and just opened. So that just meant animal advocacy groups had to try twice as hard to get rid of him. And as you can imagine, a whole saga unfolded. But before I get into all of that, I first want to thank today's sponsor, Aura. Aura is a digital security app helping to protect your data. I'm sure everyone has received spam emails and robocalls before and wondered how they got your info. They got it because data brokers are making fortunes selling your data. Aura can identify these data brokers and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. And getting your information removed has never been more important when there are massive data breaches happening all of the time. The National Public Data Breach compromised over 2.9 billion people's private records, so the chances of things like that affecting you are pretty likely. But Aura doesn't just help with things like that, they also offer a bunch of other things in their app, like parental controls, antivirus, a VPN, and so much more. It's all in the one place at one affordable price. So stop leaving yourself vulnerable to data breaches and go to my sponsor, aura.com/Sid, to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed. Once again, thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. But anyway, back to talking about Larry Wallach, the Tiger Man. And the reason why he is known as the Tiger Man is because he has a long history with big cats. He came from a wealthy family involved in the insurance and medical industry, which meant he never had to work a day job if he didn't want to. So instead, he did a lot of side quests. One of those side quests was volunteering at two of the nearby Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. He volunteered at the SPCAs in the Nassau County and the Suffolk County. He was considered an exotic animal expert of sorts, so whenever there was anything to do with an exotic animal, he was allowed to be involved. Like when it was discovered there was a tiger named Ming being kept in a New York apartment complex.
It's a Bengal tiger. Weighs about 320 pounds. I have no clue how it's been up there.
How old would you say?
I would say it's an almost 3-year-old tiger.
In what condition?
He's in excellent condition.
Larry Wallach of the SPCA owns a tiger like this one. Its diet, he says, 30 to 50 pounds of raw meat every day. Its temperament, questionable.
They kill people. They're not friendly. They're not good pets. They're the most dangerous animals. I mean, it's the stupidest thing in the world to have this as an animal in an apartment. It doesn't belong here.
Other than that, he helped rescue a lion named Simba, 2 bear cubs named Honey and Pooh.
These are the bears I gave to the zoo. Honey and Pooh.
A cougar named Hope, and a tiger called Spike. And even though he was supposed to be rescuing these animals, he kind of kept them all in some way. According to a newspaper article, Spike the tiger cub was supposed to go to the Cleveland Zoo, but Larry decided to keep him instead, and he actually ended up getting the attention of Michael Jackson. Michael wanted to get his hands on Spike.
I lived with Michael Jackson for a little while. Mike saw me on TV, and he sent the 747. Just me, the tiger, to Neverland. The tiger stayed for about 3 months, and Mike said, your cat's depressed, he misses you. Come get him. And when Spike saw me, it was just like, holy crap. Dad! I've never seen an animal so excited to see a human and not eat him.
When Spike was a year old, Larry did an interview with the BBC, and apparently at that point, he already outgrew the cage Larry had for him in his backyard. He also advocated for keeping big cats as pets. He said, I think if you're capable, financially, property-wise, and you want it, we're Americans. We live in a free country, then go get it. Keep in mind he rescued Spike through the SPCA. He didn't go and buy Spike as a pet, but he did buy a bunch of exotic animals. They would be kept inside cages and in trailers at his residential home, but they would also spend time in cages on his family's yacht, which was named Lady Francis after his mother. While the yacht was very nice, I'm sure it was the last place these big cats would want to be cooped up on. Hope the cougar, one of the animals he rescued and then kept, spent plenty of time cooped up either on the yacht or in the trailer in his driveway, and he was soon let go from both of the SPCAs he was volunteering at, and it made the news because Larry was defiantly wanting to start a separate SPCA specifically for exotic animals. He petitioned the county in court to try and make these changes happen, and when he went to court, he brought Simba the lion with him. The president of the Nassau County SPCA told the Long Island Journal that Larry was asked to turn in his badge because he wasn't needed. He also said Larry made him an offer. He said, if I reinstate him, he will give me 100,000 shares of stock in his company and he will drop the case. He's a rich, spoiled brat. The Suffolk County SPCA told the Long Island Journal that Larry had only been affiliated with them less than a year and had only assisted with one case. And it wasn't just the SPCAs denouncing Larry, it was also other exotic animal owners. One of them was a man named Roger Figg, who said that the 2 bears Larry supposedly rescued, named Honey and Pooh, were not actually rescued. He told the Long Island Journal Larry purchased them at an auction. Those 2 bears were then donated to the Holtsville Zoo, but perhaps those bears were more of a bribe because shortly after that he became the director of the Holtsville Zoo for a short period of time. Larry's case of trying to get a new exotic animal SPCA started wasn't successful. Previously, as a volunteer, Larry didn't have any enforcement powers, but if he was the lead of an SPCA, he would be able to make arrests, have a gun, and bring criminal complaints. And Larry was drawn to exotic animals because of the power of it. So giving him the powers of law enforcement wouldn't have been a good idea.
It's very powerful to be able to go in a cage with a big animal, make it hug you and kiss you, you know. My mother thought I was out of my mind.
The director of the Nassau SPCA also said that Larry's doings caused them to be investigated by the Attorney General's office. So there was no way he was going to get his own SPCA when he couldn't even be a volunteer correctly. He was very clearly just wanting to funnel any exotic animals that he rescued to be his personal collection. But his shenanigans did get him noticed by a reality TV production company.
Hey, come on, hurry up. So I'm ready. Look at me. I am lit. Larry Wallach and I save animals. Rescue them, save them, protect them, get them good homes, stop people from hurting them. We're the shit. Mo, Larry, and Curly. What's going on? I'm getting hugged. I have a great animal army. Louis is no bullshit guy. We can't wait to shoot somebody.
There are many religious fanatics in this world. There are also many animal fanatics in this world. And my job is to watch Larry's back while he's watching the animals.
Nicole handles the babies. Great with the babies. That's about it.
Larry is a psychopath.
Can we take pictures? Oh, we got a big grizzly. Come on.
Got a bear? Come on, you guys are Marines. Who wants to wrestle the bear?
In this episode, the bear gets his ass kicked.
Episodes of the show were made, but it never got picked up by a network. By the time 2017 came around, the only animal he had left was a wallaby named Jack. His animals either died or were confiscated from his property.
Home belongs to Larry Wallach, a self-proclaimed caretaker for exotic animals, whose Facebook page shows an image of a little wallaby in his care back in 2015. In the past, officials have removed, yes, a full-grown lion that was living inside the house and a panther from this trailer parked outside.
His neighbors also had problems with him keeping exotic animals.
I have a problem with my neighbors and me having all these different exotic animals. And if they see me walking in with a 6-foot alligator, the police will be here. Everyone will end up coming.
And at times he didn't have much of a choice, because in 2013 his permit to keep these animals was suspended for 6 months due to violations of the Animal Welfare Act. So all he had was Jack, who he was able to keep secreted away in a small run in his garage. It was certainly no way an animal should live, especially not a wild animal like a wallaby. It wasn't long before authorities received a tip for how Jack was living. He was quickly confiscated by the Nassau SPCA, the same SPCA Larry once volunteered for, and Jack was not in good shape.
He was in a garage in a small dog run that had like a plywood floor in an unheated garage. No food, no water, thin, starving.
The wallaby was found dehydrated with liver damage and severely underweight.
You know, he's marginally larger than a cat in body weight. You know, he was 17 pounds when we brought him in. He should be closer to 40.
Dr. Collins is now nursing this wallaby back to health.
What you're seeing here, this brightness that you're seeing in the liver, that's the hepatic lipidosis. That's the liver changes from starvation.
But there are still few answers as to how a wallaby ended up in a man's garage on Long Island. After all, Wallabies are native to Australia.
Jack was held at the Mineola Animal Hospital before being sent to an animal sanctuary. As it turns out, Jack's conditions got so bad because Larry was suddenly hospitalized and was in a coma.
I went to sleep on a Friday night, and I woke up on a Saturday night, 3 weeks later, in a coma with spinal meningitis, sepsis, and pneumonia.
And did you ever imagine that when you woke up, you'd be the subject of a huge news story?
No.
So while what happened was understandable, Jack never should have been living like that in the first place. Animal cruelty charges against him were dropped because of the circumstances, but he did try and campaign to get Jack back.
And now the wallaby's owner is telling his side of the story as he fights to get Jack the wallaby back.
Tonight, the Nassau County SPCA claims Jack's condition was inexcusable.
They said that the conditions were
terrible, I heard. I wasn't here.
Jack was not returned to Larry, and wallabies technically were illegal to be kept as pets in the area he lived in, but the reason why he was able to keep Jack because Jack was technically not considered a pet. Larry had a USDA mobile exhibitor license, and the benefit of having an exhibitor permit opposed to a pet permit is that he can have a much wider range of exotic animals. So because he claimed to exhibit Jack, he was allowed to keep him in the first place. But he did have to prove he was actually exhibiting Jack. Every year Larry has to renew his permit, and every time he does that, he has to submit an itinerary of all of the exhibitions he's going to take his exotic animals to. Because if he doesn't exhibit the animals, he doesn't get a permit to exhibit them. But when he renews his permit, he doesn't provide any sort of itinerary. He just tells them that he will notify them 30 days in advance if he books something. And apparently that is enough because his exhibitor license continues to get renewed. In his renewal forms, he claims to have snow leopards, bears, tigers, lions, cheetahs, alligators, and all sorts of big exotic animals. And the animal exhibitions he later notifies the state about are bikers rallies. Not only is there never any proof he actually went to these rallies, the vendors' tents there are 10 by 10 feet, and by law, that size is simply not big enough to fit all of the bears, big cats, alligators, and all sorts of other stuff that he claims to be exhibiting. So he provides questionable information on his permit applications or outright lies about what animals he has and what events he attends, so he can keep his permit and keep animals like Jack under the guise of exhibition when he's really just keeping them as his pets. But after Jack was gone, he really had no pets left.
People get connected to their animals. They were like children to me, so not having them is sad. I put in thousands of hours working with those animals, and they're gone.
Of course, that was not the end of the road for Larry and exotic animals though. He got his hands on some sloths, and in the first half of 2022, he set up a shop called Sloth Encounters in the town of Islip, Long Island, New York. People could pay $50 to spend 30 minutes holding and feeding one of his 7 sloths. And as expected, there was immediately opposition. John D. Leonardo of Long Island Humane led the charge of trying to get it shut down. He held a rally outside of the town's hall, protesting the use of the sloths,
arguing sloths belong in a sanctuary, not a storefront.
These animals wouldn't be exploited for photo props. They wouldn't be harassed during daylight hours when they should be sleeping. They would be able to eat natural foods and not be hand-fed by people who are harassing them.
A town board meeting was held and a staff member advocated for the sloth encounters.
A worker at Sloth Encounters urged the board to reconsider.
I invite each and every single one of you, I'm making eye contact with every single one of you, to come down. If the animals are healthy and if they're happy and people are enjoying them.
But regardless of how good the staff members or Larry thought these sloth encounters were, they legally weren't allowed to operate. The storefront Larry was using was previously a pool supply store, and in order to so radically change the purpose of a shop, a permit was required. But of course, Larry did not get that permit.
You decide to change the use to something dramatically different from what was there, you have to apply for a change of use permit. At this moment, they are operating illegally.
Wallach says he's working on getting the permit and has never abused animals.
In September 2022, the town was granted a temporary restraining order against Larry to prevent him from operating until the next hearing. But to get around that, while the store wasn't open, he started offering to bring the sloths into people's homes and their parties. So Humane Long Island urged the county to ban traveling animal acts to prevent Larry from doing this, but also prevent anyone else exploiting animals in that way. And they were successful. Legislators banned the use of animals in traveling acts in that county, so Larry had to stop doing it in that area. That, among many other things, ignited an intense interaction between Larry and John DiLeonardo.
You lie to people, I want you off the property. Goodbye. Larry, get off my property.
A legal battle got physical outside Sloth Encounters, Long Island, where animal advocate John DiLeonardo was ordered off the property by operator Larry Wallach.
He's a violent person who abuses animals and is now trying to put his hands on
Tell
me.
me how I abuse an animal.
And things only continued to get worse for Larry, because at the next hearing in March 2023, the temporary restraining order was upgraded to a preliminary injunction, and that would continue to prevent Larry from opening. But Larry thought he would be able to do a bit of a workaround. Instead of being a sloth encounter business, he changed to being a pet store, where he would sell the sloths and other exotic animals.
Sloth Encounters in Hauppauge now offers the tree-dwelling mammals for sale, along with kangaroos and other exotics.
We're a pet store. That's it. I'm not a petting zoo. Follow the rules of the law. Everyone who's been to this store loves it.
He probably later wished he had have just stopped, because the Humane Society of the United States did an investigation. Undercover, they filmed some pretty terrible ways the sloths were being handled by Larry and treated by staff.
Watch this undercover video of sloths being hit with plastic spray bottles while children watch nearby.
No. No. Males fight. It's like, I have to come in, separate them, I get big. Yeah. Hey! Yes! I told you, watch them fight, did I not? And then we will fight.
In another video clip, we see a sloth appear to be grabbed by the neck by owner Larry Wallach.
And this is what Larry had to say about that.
The only thing I think she did wrong was, hitting him on the nose with the bottle. But in all fairness, it separated the animals. Neither one of them got hurt, and neither did, anybody there.
But this is nothing new to Larry, because he has been cited for improper handling multiple times for many years. In 2013, the USDA filed a complaint against Larry for violating the Animal Welfare Act 21 times. The majority of those violations were to do with lack of veterinarian care, but 4 of the 21 violations were for improper handling. One of those improper handling violations was in 2010 for not handling a tiger cub as humanely as possible. Because of that, it exhibited stress and discomfort by crying and rubbing its body against the cage's sides, which caused it to have lesions on its nose from the cage wire. And in April 2023, he was cited at his Sloth business for improper handling. The inspector witnessed a staff member improperly nursing a juvenile kangaroo, which could have led to aspiration. They also saw a sloth attempting to bite someone's finger with an open mouth and puffed hair, and sloths biting people seems to be a pretty regular occurrence at Larry's business, because multiple people have complained on social media that their children have been bitten by the sloths.
I don't want to say parading them, but you're having them out, exhibiting them, displaying them, obviously during daytime hours. Can that, if potentially they are biting someone, could that cause the problem because they're out of their element and they're out of their normal time?
The only reason someone would get bit is if they didn't listen to exact instructions. You get bit because you're stupid. I've gotten bit. I get bit. It's part of my job. You know, a cop goes out, he carries a gun because people shoot at him. So maybe he'll get shot.
Larry also used to do tiger cub petting, and he went into business with a guy named Sam Mazzola, where they would take tiger cubs to malls and do events to pet the tigers. Denise Flores, who used to work for Sam, spoke to the Roadside Zoo News and revealed Larry would drug the tiger cubs. When Larry couldn't subdue them with drugs, he used other methods. He would post videos on his social media of the way he would control his big cats. In 2021, he got a white tiger cub, and in a video where he was showing it off, he used some sort of electric prod. From what we can see, it's hard to see if he actually used the prod on the tiger, but as this tiger has grown up, he has continued to post videos of it on social media where the use of the prod can be heard.
No claws. Fighting over the food. Now, if I was to go near that food, I don't know what Sheba would do. Come on.
This is what Larry had to say about the backlash he received about that.
If it was to electrocute him, the animal would drop and shake because he'd be afraid of it. But if you watch the videos and you hear the noise, the tiger goes like this. Like, he looks at me, looks at the dog, and I go, good boy. And they run and play.
Even though Larry wasn't supposed to be operating, he was still opening up his store, so the town of Islip took him to court for violating the court order. He was found in contempt of court, and if he continued to open, he would be fined $250 a day. So he resumed taking his animals on the road, but outside of the county where it was banned. And it also seems like he got pretty desperate for a gig. An invite was posted online to a party that involved getting high on drugs. But that wasn't the only thing this party had to offer. Larry's sloths and capybara would also be present. He said he was only doing it while he waits to get a permit for his store to reopen.
But the town of Islip says that permit was denied, and marijuana retail sales as well as lounges in the town are illegal.
Yesterday during the town board hearings, a number of speakers came up and made some pretty serious accusations. So we are compiling all of those comments and sending them on to the district attorney.
And throughout all of this, he was receiving inspections from the USDA. He received citations for everything from insect infestations to not having any paperwork for where his animals were coming from, which makes sense because in 2023, he pled guilty to trafficking baby Nile monitors. And because of that, he received a $250 fine. And in February 2024, 2 baby Kodiak bears escaped in Florida. In the investigation report the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission did, the person who was caring for the bears in Florida revealed that they received them from Larry. They provided the FWC with Larry's details and the acquisition papers, which said Larry got the bears in February 2023. He got them when they were so young they hadn't even opened their eyes yet. But since Larry doesn't live in Florida, which is where he took them to, he had to get an import permit for them. But of course he did not do that and technically trafficked them across state lines. So if he's just moving animals across the country without any sort of paperwork, it really calls into question where he gets all of his other animals from as well. Not to mention the guy in Florida Larry took the bears to didn't even have a permit to keep bears. So Larry clearly doesn't care what happens to these animals. And that is also very clear with the other set of bears I mentioned at the start of the video.
These are the bears I gave to the zoo. Honey and Pooh.
After he used the bears to stage a rescue through the SPCA he was volunteering at, and then donate them to the Holtsville Zoo, where he later became the director of, the bears lived incredibly sad lives. The bear Pooh died, but Honey lived on. She suffered from broken teeth without any sort of dental treatment, a lifetime of boredom and psychological neglect, chronic urinary tract infections, and a range of other health problems. Inside her cage was an incline which she struggled to ascend, so in order to force her up, staff members would spray her with a hose. Her situation at the zoo was often protested by animal advocates. As recently as 2022, Larry said the bears at the Holtsville Zoo were his, yet he never did anything to help Honey.
Holtsville Ecology Site. The bears that are there are mine.
But unfortunately, she was never freed and sent to a sanctuary because in 2024, she suffered a stroke and lost the ability to use her back half and was euthanized. So to Larry, Honey and Pooh were just viewed as a tool to get him one step ahead, and it seems like he failed to consider that they had an entire life ahead of them. So often in the exotic animal world, animals just disappear, and that is probably what he is used to. He probably didn't realize the public would get to see how Honey's life unfolded, and unfortunately for almost 3 decades, it was full of suffering. So imagine how bad it is for all of the other animals we don't get to see, like the bears that escaped in Florida. We wouldn't have ever even known about them had they not escaped. And I'm certain there's a bunch more Larry's done to animals that he's gotten away with. He spoke to the Beastmaster podcast on Audible about how people in the exotic animal industry could get away with so much more.
You know, if the people in the animal world weren't so cuckoo and they acted like me, we would get away with so much.
Then finally, the USDA took some serious action. In June 2024, they cancelled his exhibitor license. But after it was cancelled, the location of his animals was unknown. But based on his social media posts, he is still in possession of them. His sloths appear to be housed on a farm in Georgia, but he is also buying more exotic animals to put on this farm. He got a lion and a giraffe and is planning on starting a zoo, which is incredibly concerning. I guess we'll have to see how that unfolds, but animal advocacy groups have already shut him down once, so they will be able to do it again. And hopefully he gets in trouble for keeping these animals even though his license was cancelled. But anyway, that is pretty much everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and let's take a moment of silence for all of the animals who have suffered under Larry's care. And I will see you in my next video.